Okay, I think there are enough of us here. So welcome to our MSc in Digital Transformation Management and Leadership Information session. So I'm Rachel, I'm the recruiter on this programme. And today we are actually joined by two of our ambassadors, Julian and Karn, who we will meet in just a moment. But for now, I just wanted to welcome you and run through the agenda of what we'll be discussing today. So we'll look at ESCP kind of at a glance, and then in more detail on this particular master specialisation and why you might choose it. And also we'll hear from Julian and Karn on why they've chosen it and their experience of it so far. We can take a look at the curriculum and the projects that students do as part of this programme, and then some on kind of the career progressions, where we're based in terms of location, accommodation and things like that. And then I will run through quickly any admissions information that you might find useful, because we have our next deadline coming up in a couple of weeks. At the end, we will have a chance for a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please put them into the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen, and then myself or Karn and Julian will be able to answer those at the end. So let's get started by meeting our two student ambassadors who are current students on the programme. So Karn and Julian, it would be great if you could introduce yourself, let us know a little bit more about who you are and what you were doing before you joined the programme. Karn, should we start with you?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to meet and for anyone who's joining us virtually. I'm Karn and I'm from India. Prior to joining the ESCP MDT, the Master in Digital Transformation course, I was working as a business development executive at an American company called Gartner, which is essentially a technology advisory company. I've also done my bachelor's in computer engineering, so I have the experience and know-how about how the code really works, what kind of technologies are there. But then I was primarily working on the sales front, helping to go out to clients and get them for Gartner, but at the same time, really understanding from CIOs what their burning IT and technology issues are. And prior to Gartner, I also worked for a boutique IT consulting company, again, as a sales role, but also dealing a little bit on the product. So that's a little bit about my experience in a nutshell.
Well, thank you, Karn. Also from my side, pleasure to meet you guys. My name is Julian. I'm half German, half Colombian, but was born and raised in Germany. Prior to my master at ESCP, I completed my bachelor's degree in international management at Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. There I was also able to pick up some work experience. I worked in banking and business development for a corporate startup, and also gained first work experience in venture capital, where I worked for a corporate venture capital fund and also a German deep tech fund. That really sparked my interest in new disruptive technologies, and looking forward to telling you more about that later, which also helped me or guided me to this specific master to learn more about disruptive technologies. And that's from my side also my background in a nutshell.
Excellent, thank you both, and thank you very much for joining us here today. It's really, a great way for our prospective students who are obviously joining this webinar to just get an understanding of who this program's for and who it best suits, because there'll be people who have similar backgrounds and interests to you as well. So we'll talk very quickly about ESCP and who we are. So for those of you who don't know, we are considered the first business school to have been established. So we are now a European business school, and we have 6 campuses across Europe. So Paris and London, Turin, Madrid, Berlin and Warsaw. So we have been building for a very long time and have built a very strong reputation, not just in France, but all across the world. The international aspect of the school is actually something that's really important that we're able to offer to our students. So that chance to live and study and work in different cities, as well as mixed with, different businesses, students and faculty members. And that's really important if you are thinking or wanting to build an international career. The other really important international element is actually our student body itself. So we have students apply from all across the world, and our classes consist of many different nationalities. So for this reason, we have a huge alumni network, so 75,000 plus alumni from around the world, across 170 different countries. And these are alumni that are still in regular contact with the school, whether that be through annual alumni events or joining webinars or coming back to the school and running masterclasses or seminars. It's really important to think about this network that you could potentially be a part of if you were to join ESCP. Our alumni are also really happy to hear from any prospective students, just like our ambassadors are. So if you do want to kind of find out more about their journeys, more about the prospects that they had after ESCP, they're a great resource to look into. And I can always help with connecting you to any relevant alumni as well. In terms of rankings and where ESCP sits, so we have recently been ranked the 3rd best business school in Europe by the Financial Times. And, you know, this is a great achievement and a great recognition of the quality of the school across the board, whether that's the programs, the research, the publications, but also in regard to our students, the quality of students we have coming in, and then also the outcomes of our students beyond the program. I've also included some of the rankings and accreditations more generally for ESCP. So number 2 for Master in Finance and number 5 in both our Executive MBA and our Master in Management. So again, to just kind of highlight the credibility of the ESCP and where it sits in the leaderboard. Now this program, MDT, is not a ranked program just because it's a very specific category. It's not possible to kind of compare them all against each other. But it's worth considering how we perform overall as a school, and the quality of our professors and how some of those themes and expertise across these programs really overlap. So the program specifically, MSc in Digital Transformation Management and Leadership, this is a business program that's focusing on frontier technologies and how you can use technology to make successful business decisions and help companies or organizations grow or move through that digital transformation. So it's about learning about new technologies, and that's a very wide range as well, and how they work, but more importantly, how they can be implemented into the workplace or their business environment. What role do they play in the future of business? So there is also that focus on soft skills, so things like leadership skills, management skills that are really important and required in the workplace if you're looking to be a business leader, for example, in the tech sector. So it is a full-time program, and it's for those students who have at least a bachelor's degree and some form of relevant work experience. It is an 18-month-long program, and it's studied across London and Paris. So students do 6 months in London and then 3 months in Paris. And then this is followed by 9 months of professional development, where students complete an internship and a thesis. Some students are required to do an additional online term known as term 1 in the summer beforehand. I can discuss that a little bit more, but it's essentially based on your previous bachelor's degree and the number of credits you have. But being able to study in these 2 locations in London and Paris, it really allows you to experience both those 2 campuses and also, you know, very different cities. I mean, we'll hear from Karn and Julian on their feelings and thoughts of London so far, but it's really a great way for students to expand their network and to build international experience as they're moving through their professional development. So the program is accredited by the French state, so it's under the accreditation called DEMI. So after you graduate, students receive a French master's degree and also a ESCP diploma. If you do need more information about the accreditations, you can drop me an email and I can provide that for you. But just to highlight that it is a French state master's degree, and that is something that's recognised globally. The tuition fees for our October 2023 intake are £23,700. There is an additional cost if you are taking term 1. And as I said, our next intake is this October. We have multiple deadlines throughout the year. They run, I think we have 3 or 4 more left up until the 4th of June, but our next one is coming up in a couple of weeks on Sunday, the 12th of February. So if you are thinking of applying, make sure you know which deadline is applicable to you and when you want to submit your application. It's recommended to apply, you know, definitely before April, but the earlier the better. So who is this master's for? So Julian and Karn, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about why you decided to join this program at the particular stage in your career. Karn, start with you.
Yeah, of course. So for me, like I already said, I did my bachelor's in engineering. So I possess the know-how of how the code works. And then I was working for about 3 years, primarily on the sales front. I was really interested, and what I was essentially doing at my role in the consulting company I mentioned, Calzoom and Gartner, both was essentially reaching out to CIOs or C executives from the board, and really saying that, hey, there's someone in my team, which is a consultant or an expert, who can really solve the IT issues that you have. And I realized that after 3 years of doing that, it would be nice to really go back to a business school and really understand, rather than selling that, hey, there's someone who can do it, try to be the person who understands technologies much better, and eventually in life can also be the person who's actually doing some sort of digital transformation rather than just doing the sales aspect for it. So like I said, for me, given my previous background, it was really essential to go back to a school and really understand what are the sort of technologies that will drive change in the future, are currently working at a global scale. But at the same time, how can I at least try to know all of them and then pick and choose of to which I want to be an expert. So those were my main motivation on really coming to this course and getting to know as much as I can from a perspective that I would one day like to be the person implementing this, not just the person selling it.
Cool, thank you, Karn. From my side, as I said in the beginning, once I was working as a venture analyst and venture developer at the German early stage deep tech fund, where we invested in disruptive technologies such as blockchain-based technologies, environmental-based technologies, but also fintechs, for instance. And there I really learned that, new disruptive technologies really have the potential to change the world for our better. So as most of you probably are aware, we as humans are also facing a lot of challenges. So for instance, climate change, but also a growing population and aging population, for instance, in the Western world. So all these changes we need to address, and technology is the best way in order to sort of still keep the progress what we have enabled, and on the other hand also keep the standard of living. So there I learned that in order to sort of shape the world of the future and also enable our kids in order to live in a world that we want to maintain, we need to invest and also progress in these technological advancements. And also if you're working in an established company, as Karn already said, the technological advancements are progressing faster and faster. So you need really to be aware of the latest tech trends, and in order to protect your business and also gain new business. So that's when I noticed like the specialized master, where you could have the opportunity to really learn about a wide range of new disruptive technologies. Karn already mentioned IoT, blockchain, fintechs, but also smart cities, and how you can leverage these technologies in order to shape the world for our better. And that's what I really realized. Okay, this is something extremely interesting, especially as the technology is advancing faster and faster. For instance, I think most of you were really buffed about OpenAI and ChatGPT. So for instance, generative AI that we also learned about in our master. So I think if you really want to be aware of the newest technology, and also maybe you want to have an impact on the world of tomorrow using and leveraging these technologies, this is an optimal starting point to get an overview, but also to learn in depth about people who are working on a daily basis with these new technologies.
Excellent, thank you. And it's good to hear slightly different I guess sectors that you both came in from. And definitely this program is for those who have that, I think, real interest in technology. You don't necessarily have to come from a technical background. We have some that come from more finance background or more managerial consulting. But if you have that drive to learn about frontier technologies, and as Julian said, really wanting to be a part of the future of technology, especially in its place in business, then this is a really great master for that. And I think the fact that it covers such a broad range of technologies allows you to really expose yourself to what's happening in business and what's happening almost right now. I mean, the conversations that you must have in class, like I know this year, ChatGPT is a really big topic. Last year, metaverse was a really big topic. So it's kind of something that constantly changes with what's happening in the business world. So that's the kind of people and the kind of program that this is designed for. So as I said, it covers that very holistic understanding of frontier technologies. Karn and Julian, maybe you could give a bit more insight into maybe a particular discussion around a particular technology that's really stood out to you so far in the program.
Sure. I could go first. So for me, I think the discussion that really stood out was in our digital transformation and strategy class, where we were discussing particularly about IoT, where how organizations, again, in the manufacturing space, because that was the case study that we were discussing back then, but how organizations in the manufacturing space really are harnessing IoT in today's date to, although that's not the track that we will come forward to have eventually chosen. But yeah, that quite stood out because, I mean, technology in today's world is really helping business solve a lot of problems and really impacting bottom line and top line. And especially IoT is ensuring that, the entire machinery life cycle, the predictive maintenance of it, everything can be done much more holistically. So I remember that discussion really piqued my interest. And since then, I've tried to kind of, read more about how that's affecting the manufacturing industry. But yeah, one more thing that I would like to add over here is that I think we kind of missed out also on the software elements that Rachel, you mentioned about. And this course also helps us do that very well because we have a lot of amazing modules and professors who really teach us about more on the social and ethical responsibilities and leadership qualities that are kind of required to drive these digital transformation changes. Because technology, of course, is a very powerful tool, and how it's led, adopted, and driven is the key. But yeah, Julian, if you have anything to share as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Karn. For sure. So one discussion that I found very, very insightful was in our Industry 4.0 course, where we also discussed smart cities. So yeah, as most of you know, through new technologies such as computer vision or other sensors, we can really make the growing cities much more efficient and increase the living conditions for all of the inhabitants. But yeah, as most of the people usually think about all the advantages that smart cities lead to. So for instance, a better or more sustainable way of transportation, less congestion. On the other hand, all these sensors and cameras, for instance, that the basis of smart cities also pose significant threats to our liberty. So there we also discussed the dangers that these technologies can pose. So for instance, how they can track human mobility, how they can track us in our daily lives, how this can be used by governments also maybe to sort of control the population and control people who might be not in favor of the current government. So there it was very interesting to not only always look at the advantages and the possibilities that new technologies can lead to, but also look at the dangers they have and how the technology can be misused to sort of control our daily life. So yeah, this is what I found very insightful, to sort of reflect both sides and not only think about the numerous advantages.
Definitely, and I guess that goes hand in hand with what Karn's saying about the importance of having our kind of social, ethical, and political modules as well, and that leadership aspect. So those soft skills, how important they are when paired with learning about technology and learning about business. So definitely, if you're thinking about a career in this area, it's where your interest lies. Perhaps you are interested in going to a consulting role or an analyst role or even a project manager role. This is a really great program that's able to offer those opportunities. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of how our curriculum runs. So as I said, some students do an online term 1 before starting the specialisation in October. This term is for those students who hold less than 240 ECTS, which is European credits, from their bachelor's degree. Very generically, a 3-year bachelor's degree is generally less than 240 ECTS, and a 4-year is normally equivalent to. The best thing to do here is check your transcripts, or you can drop me a message so we can discuss a little bit more about your individual situation. If you do have to take that term, as I said, it's online. It's a mix of synchronous and asynchronous courses that you can follow in your own time and at your own pace. And then you sit an exam week in September. And it covers kind of general management topics. The master's specialisation then begins in October in London. And you can see here a range of the kind of different modules that are covered in each of the terms. So you have kind of those cognitive skills and leadership type modules. So looking at how the future of business technology is unfolding, the social and political and ethical dimensions of digital transformation, as we've discussed, leadership and emotional intelligence, and creative thinking. You then have those modules that are specific to digital technologies. So looking at Industry 4.0, big data and business analytics, frontier technologies, Internet of Things, as we've discussed. And then you have those more transformation management modules. So looking at business strategy and change management, and generally how teams and companies manage businesses moving through that digital era. We also have a sustainability management module as well. And this is actually a theme that runs across all our programs here at ESCP. And it's a particularly important topic at the moment, but especially in this type of industry as well. So Julia, maybe you could tell us a bit about your favorite module so far, if you have one.
Yeah, sure. So, well, definitely one of my favorite modules was the Frontier of Technology course, where we had a professor that called Terence, who, yeah, I remember being in this call last year prior to my application, and the ambassadors were also talking about Terence. So I really look forward to meeting him. And he is, yeah, in fact, a great professor. He also has an own AI studio where they consult different companies how to implement and how to leverage AI. And yeah, it was very, very insightful, very vivid course. He loves to, yeah, he always gives direct feedback. He loves to have all the course involved in the discussions. So yeah, this was definitely one of my favorite courses, because although I knew very little about AI in the beginning, you pick up words like AI, machine learning, or neural networks, but during this course, you really get an overview about all the application areas of AI, how you can classify different AI systems and how they actually work. So you will also get to build a very, very basic AI model that can predict different things. So yeah, it's really great to not only learn the theoretical part, but also apply the knowledge practical, and also look into different business cases where it's applied and how it can leverage your business. So yeah, as I said, this was one of my favorite modules, and I can just really recommend attending this course.
Yeah, thank you, Julian. But if it was for me, Rachel, I would say, and firstly, I would also kind of agree to Julian, and you must have seen me nodding my head, very ferociously that yes, because I was thinking of the same, and I was going to choose the same course as well, because it's really up there for me. But no, I think the second course or the second module for me is, if you see on your screen, under transformation management, the digital transformation and business strategy course, which is also taught by a professor called Mr. Gianpaolo, who happens to be working at Ferrero International, the parent company of Mars, and Mars and all the other confectionery that they have. And he leads, he's an SVP over there, also leading strategy for Europe. Comes with great experience. And I would say for me, that was a fantastic course, particularly because I'm passionate about the entire transformation management process. That's one of the major reasons of what I want to seek from this course. And secondly, that every course, we had pre-case reading. So every day there was a new case that was taken, and then the entire class discussion on that. And parallelly, we also had to implement that within our groups. And in fact, Julian and I were in the same group for that course. And we did a similar exercise for a company that I'm very close to called Nike. And it was really fascinating, because throughout the entire module, across 2.5 months, we were learning about different cases that have happened of different companies, and how transformations really were managed there. But at the same time, whatever we were learning in every course, going back and implementing to the one company that we had chosen, which was Nike. And for me, it was really insightful to know about all the other cases that have happened, because they were really handpicked and really nice cases, I would say, to learn from. But at the same time, I was just a consumer of Nike, but now I would say I know a lot more about how digital is really being led at Nike, and why I can go to the extent and say that they are the most digital company in the field that they operate in. So yeah, that was the module for me that was really exciting as well.
That's interesting, and it's good, I guess, being able to use those, real case studies, because it makes it much more applicable and it's almost a lot easier to understand its place in business. So thank you for sharing that. So alongside this core curriculum, which is very busy, I know it keeps you guys very busy, the chance to take part in workshops and seminars, and they run alongside. So they're not credited, but they are really valuable to your development and your learning. And they also, change year on year. Previous years, there have been courses like the Python coding. They've looked at financial management or even marketing. And I know this year as well, we had one just recently on building a unicorn, so a panel discussion from some entrepreneurs. Maybe you both like to share a workshop, if you've taken part in any so far, or a seminar that was really that you really enjoyed.
Yes, sure. So Rachel, as you just mentioned, the Chasing Unicorn events last week was a super insightful event. We had different founders at the stage who all founded very successful companies, most of them being unicorns. So I think like the net worth of the people there on the stage was a couple of billions. So it was very impressive to be that close to these people, also being able to ask questions, hearing about their success stories, but also the failures they went through and all the learnings they took away from it. So yeah, being in this sort of panel discussion was extremely nice. Even afterwards for the MDT track, we could have some canapés, some beer and wine with some of these founders, talking to them directly, asking for advice, asking for feedback. Maybe if you're also interested in entrepreneurship, just like me, it's always great to talk to these sort of people to sort of validate your ideas, see where you still have work to do that you haven't thought of. And yeah, it's just like the network in general then that was fantastic. Also connecting with these people on LinkedIn and having the possibility to chat with them afterwards via LinkedIn. Yeah, this was just one of the best events throughout my studies at escp so far, I would say.
Thank you, Julian. For me, I would say that I did take a part in almost every webinar, every seminar that was there, but I think two kind of stood out. The first one was, again, as you see, the seminar on financial management. And in fact, our course started with that. And it was quite interesting for me, just coming into business school. And we keep on hearing that a startup raised X millions at a valuation of Y billion, and I always used to think that the X is like really low, but the Y is like really high. So how do you really come at a valuation, because I could say that this hoodie is worth €1,000. So essentially, I think that seminar was really cool. And again, it was delivered by the same professor Julian earlier mentioned, Terence, where we learned really about there are 3 different types of methods that are typically known / accepted as to how you really come to the valuation of a company. And it's not, just, okay, 10 million at a value of 1 billion, which was, again, my understanding before this as a student. And the second one I would say was also the digital marketing one, which was quite interesting because we had these small, I wouldn't say placards, but small notes. And we were given, and we could and these were like a big box and we could pick them up and there would be like arbitrary 4 or 5 words. And those words were essentially used to describe the persona of the customer. And then we had a certain time in which we had to really build a model Instagram bio with some posts, what kind of, so for us, I remember, I think we were catering to an ice cream shop who essentially valued being humble and creative and had a soft spot for dogs. So it was quite creative because it was under 3 or 4 hours. And how do you really come up with quirky digital marketing techniques? Again, being prior in sales, marketing comes hand in hand and something that I'm quite interested in. So these were the 2 seminars, apart from the Chasing Unicorns, again, of course, was amazing. But yeah, apart from that one, I think the other 2 were really interesting for me.
Thank you. And yeah, I guess all of those examples are a great way of being able to do something a little bit different to the course that you've chosen. So obviously the financial management and the digital marketing, which are areas that our students may eventually go into. So it's great to kind of get exposure through the extras that this program offers. But as we said, the Chasing Unicorn seminars, firstly, a great way to hear from people who have their own startups and very successful startups, and then also that chance afterwards to ask them questions and be able to connect with them. all of that is really valuable to your professional development. So thank you for sharing those insights. So another element of the program, which is a really important element as well, and a really exciting element, is our company consultancy projects. So these are projects that students do whilst they're in London. So it's like a 10 to 12 week long project. You are working with a real company on a real project, and you are acting as a consultant to that client. So working in teams, and you have a mentor, but it's a great chance to work on a project that's maybe slightly different to something you've ever done before, work on a longer term project, and to put those consultancy skills to use, especially if you're interested in going into that type of career. Now, guys, I know there's limitations as to what you can share. You can't necessarily talk about company name, and the actual kind of data or projects you're working on. But within the limitations of those kind of NDAs, what are you doing with your CCP?
Would you like to start, Karn?
Yes, of course. No, I can go. Thanks, Julian. So for me, for our group rather, and for the CCP, we are dealing with a client who's based out of Netherlands, essentially have a portal where they offer information for students, again, like the ones on this webinar and what Julian and I were a year ago, essentially providing information for international students looking to, gather courses, go to different universities across the world. As an organization, they have reached a certain level of growth, and now basically the entire consultancy project for us as a group is how do the X organization go from the level that they are to the level that they aspire to be, essentially growth engine. And within that, we have 3 different verticals. So one, we're looking at basically a couple of us from the group are looking at, can they introduce more product lines to really grow? That's one. The second is within their current existing business lines that they have, they already are facing some roadblocks. So what kind of strategies can the second group of people help devise? And then the third part, which is my part, is I'm looking for M&A opportunities for them, essentially other organizations that they could pick up or probably make smaller acquisitions, which will eventually lead to their growth. So it's quite interesting, and particularly for me, because I don't have as much of an experience in M&A or in PE or VCs, but then I voluntarily chose to take that part, to see how can I develop more of my skills around that. And yeah, that's a little bit that I could probably share, essentially looking at how to grow the business, because they've reached a certain level, and then of course they have aggressive growth plans. And I love the company, the clients are amazing. So yeah, that's a bonus.
Cool, thank you, Karn. Very interesting. So yeah, I'm currently working with a startup from California, the Bay Area to be more precise. And well, in general, what they are basically doing is an autonomous drone in the logistics sector, which has different capabilities such as computer vision, autonomous navigation, and cloud computing. And they are currently planning to expand to the European market. So therefore, they want to have a go-to-market strategy for the European market. So here, for instance, we need to address the competitive landscape here in Europe, but also the different market sizes. As you know, Europe consists of a multiple of countries with different currencies, different growth rates. So here they want to assess like the European potential for their product. So yeah, that's very interesting, because to be honest, logistics is a sector that I was quite unfamiliar with in the beginning. But yeah, to do like research about different countries, different competitors, also the growth rates, the market sizes in different countries, is quite interesting. You also reach out directly to industry experts in the logistics sector to get first-hand insights about the topic, and yeah, try to get everything in a nice presentation. And yeah, it's always very nice to also work in an international environment. So to get direct feedback also from the client. And I would say you have a very steep learning curve. So yeah, that's with regards to the CCP I'm currently working on. As I said, even though you don't need to be familiar with the industry or the product beforehand, but it's a great opportunity to sort of get first-hand experience how consultants address different issues from different clients, how to sort of also leverage and deal with the expectation management, because as Rich said in the beginning, you will be doing this company consultancy project next to your studies. So yeah, there you need to have multiple leveraging multiple balls in the air and try to get a very neat presentation. So yeah, it's extremely interesting. You have a steep learning curve and also work in an international environment. That's what I really like about it.
And how it may differ between your projects, how often do you have touch points with the company you're working? Is it frequent, or is it kind of at the beginning and then at the end?
Yeah, I think I would say that totally depends on the client. So as Karn also said, different clients are in different growth stages of their business. They have different expectations. So in some instances, you have like weekly meetings or almost weekly meetings with your client to sort of share your insights to see if everything is going in the right direction. But on the other hand, sometimes you would also just have like very occasional meetings, maybe once a month, or maybe even just one meeting in the beginning, one intermediate meeting, and one final presentation, which is the case in the CCP I'm working in. So yeah, it can be quite different. But yeah, as I said, you always have to sort of address everything to the client, be aware of their workload, and also understand that they might be in a very stressful phase where they are growing in their target market and might not have too much time to also look into new aspects. And yeah, it can be quite different, but in general, still you always get great feedback from the founders. So as I said, most of the time you're also working directly with founders together. If you're working for a smaller company, so yeah, you have to adapt to their expectations.
Okay, perfect. And I guess that's exactly how it would play out if you were a consultant in the future, working to your clients' expectations and managing workload and so forth. So thank you for sharing that. And you can see as well on the screen some of the other projects that our students have done previously. Some companies are, the companies vary, some larger, but you also get a lot of kind of smaller startup companies as well, which is particularly interesting if you're interested in kind of ventures and entrepreneurship and so forth. So the other, real focus of the professional development aspect of this program is the internship. So this happens, you do your 6 months in London and your 3 months in Paris, and then students do an internship and a thesis. So the internship has to be a minimum of 4 months long, but you can do longer, you can go to direct employment. There is some flexibility here. I've included some of the companies where our students have done internships previously, and I know Julian and Karn, it's quite early because you've still got quite a lot of study time to be going, but have you had a chance to think about the type of internship you'd like to do, or have you started looking and applying just yet?
Yes, I could start if you want. So yeah, I'm already applying and also in the interview process with multiple companies, mostly in the VC area, but also in the consulting area for innovative technologies. So yeah, as I said, I think if you decide to choose this specialized track, sort of your unique selling point once you have interviews scheduled with different companies is that you really have a more in-depth knowledge about these different technologies that will shape the future. So whereas if you take like a general master in management, for instance, you might be aware, okay, there's AI, okay, there's IoT. But I think what really stood out also during my interview process is that if they ask, okay, can you give me a suitable example where AI can help you grow your business, or the different application areas in IoT, that you really have a more in-depth knowledge about these technologies, and yeah, can therefore bring more to the company. So even though it might be consulting, where, for instance, PwC also have an innovative ventures department, where you consult companies how to leverage new technologies. So yeah, sort of with the background that you learn at this specialized master, you have a wide range where you can apply the knowledge and also have a sort of advantage over maybe other competitors or other applicants who might not have this in-depth knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you, Julian, for that. For me, I'm not yet in the interviewing process. I'm still at the process where I think I'm vetting out what sort of companies that I want to talk to, and I'm trying to build some connections by attending a few events, essentially. But yeah, for me, yes, I have thought I would also like to either get an internship or a direct employment, particularly within. I would like to this time join again a tech company, but from a tech sales perspective is what I'm thinking. Because till now I've sold consulting and I've sold consulting or research and advisory, but never really sold any technology. So I'm eyeing companies like AWS in particular, Microsoft, and it's really speaking to a few recruiters, few people over there who are already working. Because now when I kind of enter the job force or kind of look for the market, I'm much more equipped in terms of really why are businesses on the other end going for AWS. Why is AWS as a company growing year on year, and why are cloud infrastructure so important, and so on and so forth, which again, like Julian very well mentioned, that I did not possess this knowledge before I joined this course, but now when I speak to people, I can have a much freer conversation because I really know what I'm talking rather than doing what I was doing before, just trying to pretend. And I think Julian really mentioned a very nice thing that when you compare it, if you're very clear that, hey, you would like to be within the digital or tech ecosystem for the near future, or for the longer run in your life, then this is a much better course than an MIM, where of course you will probably touch upon it, but you won't deep dive upon it. Like if Julian and I were to hold a 20-minute conversation with someone on a particular technology, I think we're much better equipped now to do it rather than if we were in a different course. So yeah, that's the benefit that I'm kind of seeing, and hopefully both Julian and I get the kind of role that we're looking for our internship.
Yes, definitely. And I'm impressed how early you're starting to look. Definitely the right thing to be doing, as you said, Karn, kind of filtering out what it is that you might not want to do or what it is you want to do and how you can build those connections before you're applying. Like definitely the right way to go about it. I know the class last year who are in the middle of doing their internships or have nearly finished their internships stress the importance of networking. So, as we said, that chance to meet with the founders of the startups, that's a great opportunity to do so. Some of the professors or the guest speakers that you have come in as well, they work in this industry, and how important it is to build that network when you're given that opportunity to do so. So hopefully when you finish your time in Paris in the summer, you'll be ready to start your employment. So alongside that, of course, you would also have to be doing your professional master thesis, which is a bit like an industry report. So students can base their thesis on their internship, or they can do it on a completely different topic. It's about what works best for you, what it is that you're interested in. And there's also flexibility of when you do it. You may choose to do your thesis first and then your internship, or the other way around, or some do it again alongside one another. It's completely down to what works best for you. But you can see kind of some of the previous projects our students have done. So one's looking at the impact of AI on the spirits industry, or looking at digital transformation in small businesses, how that can be managed, or even digital technologies for something such as better water management. So it's about, I guess, what you're interested in, but also how you want to pair it with your internship if you do. Again, super early to know, but do you have an idea of maybe what you would like to do your thesis on, or will you wait to see if it pairs with your internship?
So I'm still waiting to see if it pairs with my internship, but yeah, as I said in the beginning, I'm hoping to find a spot in venture capital, so which is a perfect playing field to sort of incorporate a wide range of technologies. Because one thing about venture capital, some of you might already know, you need to have a little knowledge about a wide variety of things, because the investment scope can be quite broad. So you need to be aware of different AI models, but also in the area of blockchain or IoT, the different application areas you need to know. So yeah, as you said, it's quite early to think about. I would like to find an internship first, but then yeah, as I said in the beginning, I think venture capital there, it's a very nice field in order to apply most of the things we learned and find a suitable topic.
And what about you, Karn?
Yeah, thanks, Julian. For me, I think I'm still at the phase where I'm just going to combine my personal interest, which is football, and I'm really hoping to build my my professional master thesis on really seeing. I mean, the sport industry is anyway going through a massive disruption just because of data and analytics till now, with every footballer wearing a vest, which literally tracks every movement that they do, or athletes in general. But yeah, I want to build on top of that, and at least that's what I'm thinking right now. I'm very similar to Julian. It's too early, but then when you kind of just put two and two together of your interest and the thesis that you would like to do, I think that's where I'm at a very nascent stage. But yeah, eventually, I would like to kind of have my dissertation or my professional thesis around the fact about how really data analytics, AI, and other digital technologies can not just improve player performance, but at the same time a team performance, and how digital tools can be used to really champion, particularly within football, if not a different sport.
Cool, that sounds very interesting, and I hope we could get onto something that topic and maybe an internship in that relevant area. So thank you. So I will quickly talk about other aspects of the program and the class, and then we'll look at kind of your experience of London so far. So this is just some of the careers data from our previous 2021 class. So what it is that they've been up to since they graduated from the program. So as you can see, 92% of our students were employed within 3 months of graduation. So this is a very strong careers data. And this is generally where they have been offered a longer term position from their internship, or they've gone direct employment for their internship. And the types of industries that our students go into. Consulting is definitely a large area that our students go into, as well as IT and technology, but also banking and finance. So similar to kind of Julian's interest, kind of venture analysts, or kind of wealth management, asset management, but also the kind of fintech side of digital transformation. And then there are other industries, fashion, luxury and cosmetics, usually students who are more interested in the digital marketing, or those kind of luxury companies and their digital transformation and their use of technology, and of course advertising and communications as well. So our careers service are really there to support you. So that's they run a jobs database where they can post relevant roles that our students might be interested in. You can arrange consultations with them to just kind of do some careers coaching, and that's a really useful thing to do, especially early on in the process of being a student with us, just to get an idea of what it is that you could potentially go into based on your previous experience. If there's something else you want to do, they can guide you on how you might be able to get there. So they're a great resource to be using. Now, in terms of class profile, so this is from our current class, so Karn and Julian's class. So we have about 51 students now in class. The average age is about 25 years old, and the average work experience about 3 years. And that's generally what we see in most of our classes. So you should have a minimum of 18 months experience, and the maximum is generally 8 years of experience, which is where we get that kind of 3-year average. We have a really good split between male and female in this class, which is great to see, and that's really important for building that diversity and also bringing in different opinions and different experiences as well. And also the 25 unique nationalities. You can see where all our students come from here. That's a really important aspect as well. People will have worked in different industries, different markets, and to get their insight on how those work is really important, as well as the opportunity for students to work with people of such different backgrounds and cultures. It's really important if you're looking to go into an international career, that you're able to work with a variety of different people. So, life at ESCP. So, boys, maybe you could tell us a bit more. What are your thoughts of London so far? Are you enjoying it? Do you like it? Is it a good place to study?
Yeah, of course. I could go first, and I think both Julian and I had a very wide grin when you kind of asked that question. I would say a big yes. I think London is an amazing city. I'd never been here earlier to this course, so it was quite refreshing for me. And I would say I'm a person who really admires the historical aspect in the city as well. So London offers that, but then London also offers the best of almost everything, I would say. So a fantastic city. I think one thing that I particularly like about London is how diverse the city is. I think when you say that our course is 25 nationalities, you can literally like blow that up to an entire city. And that's what London would be, because it's so diverse. Like on my commute from my house to university every day, I could probably hear 4 to 10 different languages being spoken by someone, on the tube or somewhere else. And then, of course, great places to look at from a historical perspective, amazing museums. I think it's also the museum capital of the world, if I'm not wrong. Somewhere I read that, the tourist in me got that. And yeah, and particularly life at ESCP, I could also speak a little bit about the BizTech course that's meant the student body that's mentioned over here. In fact, Julian and I are both a part of BizTech. And yeah, it's quite interesting because we are really trying to build a student body outside from the MDT course to really connect with the technology world outside. In fact, just before hopping onto this webinar, I had a call with the BizTech team internally for one of the projects that we're working with. So again, another chance to work on other consultancy digital transformation projects, not just limited for the scope of academic studies, but from student societies. And yeah, I'm also I like to party, so London offers me a lot of that. So that's just an added bonus.
Thank you, Karn. So yeah, from my side, I have to be honest, and initially I was a little bit skeptical about moving to London, which was mainly due to the fact that in Germany, we often portray London or the UK as a very gray place, also with some very weird breakfast combinations, I would say. But yeah, to be honest, I was positively surprised coming here. So in fact, the weather here, most of the time when I compared it to Germany, it was much better over here, which is one aspect. But the other main aspect that Karn already mentioned was just the diversity of the city. So you have very modern business areas with skyscrapers, all the leading banks and consulting firms that you can imagine. But on the other hand, you also have very old parts of the city with traditional buildings. You have nice parks. You also have very sort of creative alternative areas with a lot of street art, with very nice small bars and coffee houses. So this is something I really appreciate about London. It's just the sheer size. So yeah, as I said, you can have, if you prefer like a modern, clean area, you can move to one side of the city. If you want to have a more alternative, sort of multicultural area, you can you also have that part. So yeah, the diversity is one big thing. And yeah, on the other hand, I would also say that the people here seem to be much more friendly compared to Germany. So they always happy to help you out. They always excuse themselves if they pass you or standing in your way. That's something I never noticed in Germany or never experienced. So yeah, and also what Karn mentioned, if you like to go out to have a nice drink at a bar, you have very fancy, nice bars, but also sort of alternative, cheaper bars, have very nice, fancy clubs, but also sort of smaller techno clubs, which are more alternative. So yeah, you have also very nice museums, which are for free for most of them for students. So yeah, you basically never run out of things that you can do. And yeah, that's what I'm really enjoying the time here in London.
Excellent, glad. And you've got maybe 2 months left until you move on to Paris. So still a bit of time to keep exploring, because as you said, it is massive and there's so much to go and see, and it's worth spending kind of a day in one area to really understand it. But it is a great place. And of course, Paris, again, is lovely and definitely has a very different way of life there and lots of great benefits there as well. So thanks for kind of sharing a bit of an insight. I'm conscious of time, so I might have to skip through just a few slides just to so we can get a chance to do some questions, because time has run away. But just to give you an idea of where it is that we are based. So we're in the northwest of London in an area called West Hampstead, which is a lovely kind of residential area. It's got a lot of a lovely high street with lots of bars and restaurants, which I know our students spend a lot of time in, but it's a really great place to be. And then you have such good access to the whole rest of London with the metro, the underground, and the train lines. So it's a great location to be, to just explore the whole of London and also to live as a student. So in terms of admissions information, In order to apply, so you need at least a bachelor's degree, and you should have around 18 months of full-time experience. So part-time experience and internships will be taken into consideration, but it's important that you do have experience behind you, whether that's in technology or if that's more kind of business and finance and consulting. We also have an English language requirement, and you can see that we accept an IELTS 7 or a TOEFL 100, but our full list can be found on the website. In addition, on our website, you can see the full list of the documents that are required in order to submit your application. So do take a moment to read our admissions tab so you know what it is you need to submit an application. Our next deadline is on Sunday next week, so Sunday the 12th of February. If you apply for that deadline, all applications are reviewed together, and it takes about 2 weeks to hear if you have been selected for interview. If you have been selected for interview, again, it takes another kind of 1 to 2 weeks after to hear if you have been offered a place. And with a place, there's generally a 3-week acceptance deadline. I won't talk about the motivation letter or what to expect from the interview, because these are things that will come up later on in the admissions process, and I can always talk to you directly about that. But on the screen, you can see our tuition fees, so £23,700. We also have 2 scholarship options. One is Global Citizen Talent, which is a £2,000 award. Everyone is automatically considered for this award. There's nothing extra you need to do. It's a new scholarship that we're able to offer this year. And the second is Access Opportunity. So this is a maximum of £4,000, and it's more of a financial need, merit-based scholarship. I'm sorry to have to skip through that admissions part, but if you do have more questions about that, drop me a message. My email's on the screen, my number, and you can find those details on our website as well. And of course, you know, our ambassadors are available for you to speak to. Their details are also on the website. There's Karn and Julian, and there's a few more others as well. So do take a moment to reach out to them and hear more about their experience. I can see we have a couple of questions, so I will try and get through as many as I can in the next couple of minutes. But if there's anything that doesn't get answered, just you can drop me a message after. So there is a question which, Karn, maybe you could answer this, about the consultancy projects. How relevant are they to digital transformation and technologies? Are you, you know, dealing with a lot of technologies in your current project?
Yeah, so for my project, I would say that I wouldn't say it's extensive to the extent that we're dealing with AI, because it's a still relatively more growth strategy project. Of course, we're trying to leverage digital channels, like, you know, the elements we were exploring that, hey, can we use chatbots, and how chatbots can be used to really drive growth. So essentially, we're picking on digital tools that are available, but it isn't as extensively digital. But from the fact that I've heard, and this is just for the fact that, you know, you must understand there are 10 different projects that are happening simultaneously. So not every project might have the same level of digital as mentioned over here. But yeah, I do know of a few colleagues who are working on different projects where they're delving much more deeper into digital technologies than the one that we are working on.
Perfect, thank you. And I guess, yes, it covers a lot more kind of the strategy and business strategy, which is another really important element that you pick up from this program. So whilst yours might not be directly on a technology, the skills you're learning around that is something you can apply to a technology focused project in your future career. Thank you. Okay, so just one other question, and then I think we'll have to leave it there. But this is about applying for 2 master's programs. So you definitely can apply to 2 different masters. You have to do the first application first, and then at the end, go back and do the next one. But it's important that you're distinguishing your reasons for applying for each program. This is something that I can definitely speak to you about in more detail, especially if there's 2 similar programs, but it is possible. So I think we'll leave that there. Hopefully, Karn and Julian have given you a really good insight into the program, and it was a fantastic insight and really useful to hear your experiences and how you're finding it so far. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you to everybody who's been watching. I hope you found it very interesting. I will send out the recording later this week, but if you have more questions, please do get in touch with me. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day. And Julian and Karn, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Rachel. Thanks, Julian. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.